Hey, I'm Reggie Ponder, the Real Critic, and this is the Real Critic Roundtable, where Black critics come to discuss, debate, and have some fun. And before the show started, there was already the debate, so it is already on and popping today. Katya is hot to try, but we might not get to her issue. But she's talking about award season. We did talk some more about award season last week, and we might get into it a little bit this week as well. But we're going to get into our movies. We got a couple of really good movies to talk about. But before we do that, obviously, want to welcome my friends to the show. A Sean Edwards, Fox 4, Kansas City. You don't know, you need to ask somebody. Sean, welcome to the show, man.
What's up, man? It's Good Friday, man. Another good Friday, man. Everything's lining up. The pandemic's slowly but surely getting better, but we might have to speed it up because we got these international movie awards we about to kick off, which is going to be dope. So I'm excited to be on the team that's going to produce that. So I got to drop nuggets right here. So it's going to be great, man. The industry's going global. We're about to produce a global award show, so it's gonna be fantastic.
Excellent, really good stuff. Then I got my friend Katya Woods, Cup of Soul Show.com. If you don't know, you definitely need to ask somebody. Katya, good. I was off last week because not off last week, but I was in Jamaica. But you weren't in Jamaica. You were working hard on Sundance, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I still have. Thank you for having me, but it's good to be here. I'm still getting on my feet, you know what I mean, as they say, and I am, you know, I pace. I got my own pace. I don't make anybody rush me, make me feel unhealthy. But it's good to be here. COVID numbers are down because the weather is bad. People can't get together to do the foolery, and and more people are getting their vaccine, but all Star Weekend is around the corner, and people are planning to do the foolery. Good Lord Jesus, do your thing. I mean, I'm not saying I want anybody to be like in Texas situation, but if you were to throw a little snow to slow folks down, I'm not against it.
Well, look, I don't want to slow us down because we got a lot of stuff to try to get in. I sent y'all a list of stuff because on the topics end, there's some things to talk about. But before we get into that, let's get into a movie that I have not seen, but the two of you guys have seen it. So I'm gonna ask you, Sean, to bring in the movie Blythe Spirit.
Yeah, it's a remake of a comedic play. Um, One of the greatest directors ever did it in 1945, David Lean. We probably should have left it there. Man, this remake felt a little dated and a little stale out the gate. But I did like the premise. I like the premise of the original movie. A widower is like has a new wife and is haunted by the wife of his past, and you go into some a lot of the comedic tropes you've seen before. I mean, the cast is incredible. I mean, you got a A-list cast. I just don't think they had a lot to work with. I mean, you had Dan Stevens, who's he's adequate in the movie, but you know, Isla Fisher is for my money is always funny, and I mean, she does her best. Like I said, this didn't have a lot to work with because I think that the source material during its day was ripe for a lot of comedic laughter and some other things. Just not quite so sure it really stood the test of time. And then I don't think the director was as capable as he probably could have been to sort of like modernize the proceedings. I mean, it's not an awful movie by any means, but it just doesn't seem to like work as well as it probably could in 2021.
So before I get Katya to come in here, you're saying that we got a really good cast.
It's a great
We
cast.
we got a good cast. We have a story that's plausible or at least engaging in some kind of way.
Well,
But
not well. The story. I wouldn't say the story would have never been plausible, but the story is ripe for a lot of comedic elements to happen.
but they just didn't get the magic on this one.
Nah, it's the timing was off a little bit. I don't think it's aged very well, and then the execution just wasn't as sharp as it needed to be.
Katya.
I didn't hate it. I think this is the time of year. Also, it's a good little escapism film for you to have some kikis and ha-has. Is the script a little shaky? Yes, but I do think the talent makes it worth it, and just again, we know that the premise is not based on reality, but then 99% of movies are not based on reality. But again, if you are just, this time of year also is very, we just got out of everything is heavy. Life is heavy. If you want to tune out for a little bit, then watch this and you laugh a little bit. It's on Amazon. It's not going to take, if you already subscribed, you're not going to pay extra. So yeah, go for it. Watch it. I don't,
So
yeah.
when you say, it's light, but are there some other light thing? Would you say because it's light, and of course I totally agree with you on this whole thing of that we're watching a lot of heavy stuff these days. Um, but are there some other things that you would put in this place, or you're like, hey,
I don't, I mean, a lot of people like Borat, but it's not my cup of tea of fun, you know what I mean? But I'm not going to tell anybody that you shouldn't enjoy it, I mean, is everybody going to like this? No, some people may be going to wonder, but again, I don't think they made this wanting to be um heavy. It is a remake. Is the original better? Absolutely. But again, if you're just looking to, if you're a fan of Judy Dench and some of these other folks, watch it and just understand what you're getting into. This is
so
not going to be the grapes of wrath, in other
so
words.
so the reason I asked both of you guys this because I am a Judy Dench fan. I like Judy Dench, and
I do too. I like her a lot.
so it's like I got some spare time this weekend. Is this one, Sean, that I should check out?
No, it's too
No.
directionless. It doesn't have any directions. There's other things to watch. Like I said, yeah, Judy Dench is fine in it. Leslie Mann is fine in it. Isla Fisher's fine in it. Dan Stevens is fine in it. But no, this is one you can wait and accidentally, you know, discover like a little bit later down the road. So no,
Uh,
it's a no. Capital
yeah,
N, capital O.
Katya.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also a firm believer. Just because I don't like something, like I said, it's a lot of people like Borat. I could care less. So that obviously how I felt about it didn't impact how other people saw it. So I mean, if you want to just take a breather from all the heavy stuff, all the heavy screener stuff we've watched, you want to do a palate cleanser, watch it.
All right. Well, cool. Well, it seems like you saying that you care a little. Sean say he don't care at all, but that helps us get into the next
I
movie.
gave it 2 out of 5, so that's not a recommend.
That means we get into that I care a lot. And this movie I'm going to take because Katya, you sent me a note saying it's cray cray, and
It is,
we need to watch
but in
this.
a good way.
That we need to watch this one. And this film is really takes a look at an interesting look at guardianship and people getting older going into uh, care facilities. And it kind of shows that it's really a racket on every end, from the doctor to the person who becomes your legal guardian
It's a
to
system.
that the whole system seems to really be corrupt in a way. And when I started to look at this, I did not know where this movie was going. And obviously, here we will not tell you where it's going. But what happens in this film is that a older lady is all of a sudden taken in, made to go to a care facility, and she is put in the care of a guardian. This guardian is ruthless. She sells the property, she monitors the will, she pays herself. She is absolutely ruthless. And I'm going to tell you, I hated this character. I wanted this character to have bodily harm. I was wishing for that all throughout this film, but it was captivating for me. I was watching this all the way through. Sean, thoughts?
Yeah, and the crazy thing about this film is the stuff that actually, if you do any research in terms of guardianship, the things that happen in real life are actually far worse and crazier than this movie. But I enjoyed the movie a lot. Rosamund Pike, for my money, is one of the best actresses working in the biz today. She does a tremendous job, and she has to because she carries the entire film. I love their performance. I love how they set her up. The writing was crisp. The pacing worked. But then you get to the last third of the movie, and I'm like, all right. yeah, I get this. It's got elements of being a dark comedy, but man, these are some of the wackest gangsters and ruthless people ever. I mean, there's just too many. There's too many moments where they go from ruthlessness to not being ruthlessness. But I understand it was all done for story progression, but to a fault. But I also enjoyed the De La Soul song "Potholes in My Lawn," and so in order to enjoy this movie, I had to drive to the fertilizer store and just fill in those holes myself and keep it moving. But other than that, it's a very enjoyable movie. It was a very interesting premise. The acting was great. I wish they would have given us more on Peter Dinklage's character. I needed to see just a tad bit more development. But I mean, we tend to forget that Diane Weiss has won 2 Oscars. I mean,
Oh,
she's amazing. Hey, she might be the least known, respected, multi Oscar winning actor in the game. And I think a lot of people forget that. But yeah, she was great. But I also wanted a little more about her. But they gave us just enough to where you can't knock the film. So it was interesting. It was entertaining. Yeah, I mean, I dug it.
yeah, yeah. Go, Katya. I have more to say, but I'm gonna let you get in here because you made me watch this film.
Of my youth, Footloose and Parenthood. My whole generation grew up with Diane Weiss. If you know what I mean, we knew dark hair Diane Weiss to this, short hair. Oh, I forgot. What's the movie with the werewolves, with the vampires? Lost Boys. She played the mom in that. So my whole generation, we grew up with that. So yes, we know who she is. The thing is,
No, we know who she is, but most people do not know she's won two
I just
Oscars.
gave you 3 movies that there isn't. If you
But
mention
I,
one,
So
I
she,
think he right
that
though.
haven't seen
I
it.
think you
no,
both are right. I think you
she
both
won
are
her.
right.
She
I
won her
think
2 Oscars for what?
But what I'm saying to you is,
She won her 2 Oscars for what movies?
it doesn't matter. We know
Most
who
people
she
don't
is.
know.
But
That's
it
just my
doesn't
point.
matter. We know who she is,
She
Sean.
won her two
Anyway, this is
Oscars for
my
what two
moment, so
movies?
I'm going to take my moment. I'm speaking in the words of Kamala Harris.
I know, but
Um,
she won her 2 Oscars for what?
Sean, you spoke. That's
She
my
won her
turn.
2 Oscars for what?
Sean, you
all
spoke.
right, all right. Let's move it. Go, Katya.
Anyhow, she is. Here's my thing with this movie. One thing I liked is how they rolled out the movie. We did not. It was on the program at TIFF, but they didn't make it available to everybody in order to keep the plot a secret. And I appreciate that because we are in the thing where everybody likes to say I'm first and roll out. And part of the agreement is when you are covering this film that you don't reveal the secret. I do want to point out is that, you know, the people that are being taken over, it's involuntarily, right? It is just to let people know these people are not signing up and being gullible. They're being hostage, they're being ransacked, their lives are being turned upside down. What I love about this is it's clever and it's not predictable. And there are people popping up in this that you're like, oh my God. Because again, the way that they're rolling it out, they're not giving you all of the nuggets, which makes it more enjoyable for you as a viewer. It's very hard to talk about this film because you don't want to give anything away. We talked about Rosmunda. We got to talk about Diane Wiest. Diane Wiest is like the cherry on top of the sundae in this film. They got the wrong old lady, basically. She is feisty, she is smart. And I love that because in movies like this, I don't know why it is with people over 50, 60, that they keep thinking that they are passive, that they're all senile, that they're not of sound mind and body, that they don't stand up for themselves. And she is definitely that person that is like, I'm not that type of old lady. I'm not just going to sit here and let you lead me by the nose. And that's part of the reason why the shtick works, because she doesn't realize who she's got on her hands because everybody else just went along. Everybody else was just like, oh, I guess I got to accept that. And I think that's one of the beauties of this film. Peter Dinklage, also speaking about him a little bit, is one of the best actors going around. It's a shame he should be playing more roles because he's a good actor. But
He's
as
a really
usual,
good actor.
he's a really good actor. And if nothing else, Games of Thrones has proved that he turned out to be the favorite, if not one of the favorite characters. But Hollywood, as usual, if you don't come in a certain checkbox, doesn't know what to do with you. He's working more than a lot of actors that are of his stature, but he should be working more. And we got to start making roles for people that aren't fitting into the box, because it's just an absolute waste that we don't get to see more of him.
You
And
know what
he's
I think though? You know what I think though, Katya, is that I don't think this role was written for someone like him. And I think that they were like, he's that good. He come, yeah,
Yeah,
you
but
could play
he's always been that good. If you look at
you
all
could
his
play
different
this
roles,
role. So
he's really, yeah. And
I
I think what we learned through Games of Thrones is we weren't cheering for Tyrion because he was a person of small stature. We were cheering for him because he was interesting. He was smart. He had a sense of humor. He said all the stuff that other people didn't want to weren't
yeah,
were
I
afraid to say.
I
You know,
I
about his own family sitting right there.
I I,
So,
I totally agree.
so I
And
really like him.
so a couple of things. I mean, you guys actually covered a couple of things. I think that when you talk about Peter, I really felt it's interesting. Sean said that he wanted more, but I think that he was mysterious enough that he made me stay with like what's about this dude? Who is this? Who is this guy? Even though I mean I could take more, I think he did a good job, and I think that um, you're right. Rosamund Pike carried this, and she was good.
She's
I mean,
always been good, but I think this role will make more people take a look. Sadly, that it takes something like this for people to take a look at a person's resume, but
how
because it's
how
enticing enough.
how they prey on people and how ruthless they are in this industry is and this scam of an industry is unbelievable. When you talk about care, medicine, money, all that type of stuff, this was really really interesting. They start this film off saying that playing fair is a joke invented by rich people to keep the rest of us poor. I just want to say, man, I like this. Sean, it's something funny you said is that the gangsters were a little bit bumbling, and so you do say to yourself, would they be that bumbling to fall into that kind of thing? But I
No,
think
but they are, because you got to keep the story moving forward. I mean, that was the dark comedy. That was the dark comedy elements of the movie. And my only thing with Rosamund Pike, though, I mean, that prevented this from being like the perfect performance. It did take me a minute to shake the fact that it was very similar to the character she portrayed in Gone Girl. So
okay.
I had to shake that off. I mean, it's eerie. Like if there was a sequel to Gone Girl, this would be her. You know, because she delivered sort of that same sort of like icy, cold, ruthless persona in that movie. So yeah, that's the only thing. But other than that, you know, it's an adequate movie.
Yeah, so to me, this is a watch it. I mean, I if I got to get my wife to watch this one because I know she's gonna enjoy it from beginning to end. So for me, this is a watch it. Katya.
I agree. I was with you, Reggie. I did not like first move this. I was like, somebody needs to hit her on the head with a cement brick. Like this woman is terrible. But
But it's a watch it.
yes,
All
absolutely.
right, good. Sean.
Yeah, it's a watch. Even though without giving anything away, the setup scene gave it away for me.
Okay. Oh, okay. Wow. That means you got something that I didn't get because
Yeah.
it caught me a little bit there. All right, good. So that's that on that, and then we get to our last movie today, which is the movie Truth to Power. And Katya, I'm gonna ask you to tell us what this one is about, and yeah, tell us how you feel about it.
It's about System of the Down, who's a rock band, heavy rock band, who uses the group, their stance and popularity to bring light to what's going on in Armenia and what has happened in the past. And you see people like Rick Rubin and other people like that who are basically, supportive of their movement. And people are like, it's not a new thing in rock. It's just you get to see their story. You know what I mean? Where they're using their music, their patronage, educating their audience while they're rocking out at the same time. And I think it's a good look. You know, I don't think you have to be a Systems of the Down fan in order for you to appreciate this. And I think in a day and age where a lot of people are like, musicians are selfish, they don't care about anybody, they're just always about themselves. This is a good example that a lot of people out there that make music, and they do want to use their stature, for lack of a better word, to bring awareness to things.
Sean.
Yeah, I like this. I like this style of documentary. I mean, if we can call it that, it kind of wavered between documentary and promotional video. But I mean, you gotta, during these times, I mean, it's 2021. We've seen a lot of stuff go crazy in terms of, what's happening on the political scene. I mean, so, I like the fact that he's self-telling a story. So you just kind of have to accept that, it's a very workmanlike documentary. It's not overly creative or super groundbreaking, but they do a good job of really focusing in on his message. I mean, I like the quick Wikipedia style delivery on giving us background on how he grew up, the creation of the band, the impact of the band, and then we take that turn and then start talking about like the importance of the band's lyrics and how it led to his political activism, and the how he led to the Armenian genocide being recognized by the United States of America. So it was all good stuff. It was all straightforward. And no, you don't have to be a fan of the band. You don't have to know their greatest hits. You don't have to know anything about it. It's just a really solidly told story without many bells or whistles.
Yeah, so what's really interesting to me, and both of you guys have said this, is that you don't have to be a fan. I didn't even know this band, System of a Down. I don't even listen to this kind of music. So I'm like, who, what, where? But I think the way in which they told the story, it's a universal story. It's a universal story about people seeking their freedom, but also seeking recognition. And I could see this about all kinds of different people. So it drew me in that way because I felt that the story was universal. My question is did he have a voice which made room for his passion, or did his passion make room for the voice? I was trying to figure out which one because he was really passionate about. But I, there were some beautiful moments in this as well, like when he sung with it, was able to sing with his father.
Yeah.
Some of the things that happened at the end of this movie, and I sat here after the movie saying to myself, "Man, freedom is beautiful. Freedom is beautiful." And they did this through a peaceful revolution, which is really was really interesting. So I like this. I agree with both of you guys. I don't think any one of you guys are saying like this is the best documentary ever that you got to see it. But having watched it, I'm like, not a bad job at all.
Yeah, I do wish it was a little longer. I mean, it clocks in at 79 minutes. And so I sort of felt like they left a few things on the table that could have been, further explained or expanded upon just to give people a deeper sense of, what was going on politically. But I mean, it works. I mean, 79 minutes is a quick watch. That's shorter than a lean animated feature designed for 3-year-olds. So
Yeah, but that's why it really worked for me because I'm thinking like this is not my kind of music. Anyway, it worked for me because it was short. I think that I could really see what you're saying in terms of other people might wanting more. It was enough for me. I'm good.
but you hit on a good point, and you keep repeating it, and I think we should repeat it even more. It's not about the music. That's the thing. This is not your typical rock doc. This is not your typical behind the scenes of a band. I mean, this is about like his political viewpoint and how he used what he did as a singer and musician to elevate a greater cause. So yeah, no, it's not about the music, which is why it works. So if it's about the music, I don't think the entry point would be a little more difficult.
Woo, you not lying, Katya.
No, I mean, I think it's also important for a lot of people. You see this a lot with Rage Against the Machine, but people are using these folks as music, not understanding where they stand politically and who they are, and that they don't want their music to be used for these things. So in that way, I think it's really important that you understand who this man is, what he stands for, what type of a musician he is, what type of human he is. So then when you are circling back to the music, some other things click. System of a Down is a huge band. I mean, I understand you have to be into that type of music. I would say like out of the if you watched 120 minutes back in the day on MTV, for all the underground rock band heads like myself, like that's where they live kind of like. but I think again, I think it's long enough. We have way too many 2 hour movies, hour 75. I mean, I appreciate anybody who can make their point in less than 2 hours. Like, thank the Lord. Like, we don't need to be sitting there for forever. And again, if you're not a fan, it draws you in. And if you are a fan, you get to know more about the front man of one of your favorite bands, which I think is also cool, you know, instead of them
Yeah,
talking about how much money I have.
I think this film does show the power of art, the power of music, and the power of finding oneself to actually be able to live in that place where you're like, I can be me. I'm not sitting on myself. I'm actually can be me. So I liked it. I thought that it had a universality to it. So I think it's a watch it. I don't think it's a run out and go watch it. But if you're interested at all, I'm saying watch it. Your thoughts, Katya?
Yeah, definitely watch it.
Sean?
Well, I actually watching this documentary actually made me feel slightly embarrassed, and it actually made me put my producer hat on because it gave me some fantastic ideas on some documentaries that haven't been produced that we need to see that could follow in the same vein. Because I would love to see a documentary on Stevie Wonder and the creation of the Happy Birthday song and how it led to the ratification of the Martin Luther King holiday becoming a national holiday in the United States. We've never seen that. I would love to see that. I would love to see a documentary on, we just saw it in United States versus Billie Holiday, but I would love to see like a documentary on the impact of Strange Fruit in the anti-lynching movement. So, it kind of like, hey man, there's some stories in our arena that are similar that haven't been told. And then still the greatest documentary in this vein is still being left on the table. I would love to see the impact of, the rise of Public Enemy and that new style of hip hop that led to a lot of like movements, and one of the most famous quotes ever in reference to hip hop music on how rap music is the CNN of the hood, and how that group really led to a entire movement that changed the direction of not just hip hop music, but journalism in general. So yeah, it gave me some ideas as a producer. So now it's time to get to work.
Wow, wow. Well, hey,
Oh, what
hey.
beat is you gotta get Griff, you gotta get X, you gotta get Flavor Flav and Chuck all to agree on the same page, and they can't even agree to all be on the same stage to do a show. So
Yeah, but you can
that
still
is
tell the story though. I'm ready.
no, it's and also Griff is on a whole different landscape in terms of his political thinking, what he's into compared to the rest of the brothers. And I can't even speak for X because he hasn't done shows with the folks, and a lot of folks unfortunately are feeling some type of way about Flavor Flav since he started doing reality TV. So the greatest hype man ever in the group, people are like, what happened to
But
what happened, Flav? I mean, we know we
but does
probably
that mean the story can't be told, Katya?
I,
No, it doesn't. It makes the story, all the turmoil makes the story better.
the story cannot be told if you don't have all of those elements because that is the group. Now, if you only have 3 people telling the story, then you're getting askew. That 5 people don't have to agree on how things came, but you need all of those points of views because that's what we bought in for. Do you know what I mean? And that's
Not
my problem.
necessarily.
Excuse me, Sean, I'm speaking.
Go ahead.
That's my problem with a lot of these things. We're not getting everybody's point of view, and then what you have is 2 or 3 different documentaries that are more how can I say this? They feel like they're people are fighting against one another, and in a lot of cases they are because they don't feel heard or they feel as though their role was diminished. And to me, it's important. Get all 5 of them. Do have to come to Jesus meeting. Make sure the money is right. That's the other thing is people don't want to pay people for their contributions because they weren't as flashy. But you need all the moving parts. That's Public Enemy.
Yeah,
Point blank.
I hear you.
Period.
No, I do hear you. I'm gonna let Sean say something, but I have something to
No,
say
go
to
ahead.
that.
No, you go first. You go first, Reggie. You go
So,
first.
since I'm a big basketball fan, the 5-5 that's my generation, and those were my guys. I mean, but they're not gonna come together and talk together. So I
You're in
want
my
to
head. I
hear.
was about to use that as a. You're in my head. I was about to use that as a
Hold on,
precedent.
hold on,
Right.
hold on, just give me a sec. So I want to hear. I mean, I want to know what Chris Webber wanted to say. I want to know. But if he doesn't want to tell me, okay, what say you, Jalen? What say you, Jawan? What say you? I can't make Chris Webber talk. So I'm saying I don't think that I stopped telling the story because dude don't want to talk. That's my position on that.
No, my thing is not for them to talk at the same time, but you need those interviews. The day one fans are going to say, where is Griff Park if you don't include him? And that
But
is
if he don't want to talk,
what he's doing because he has felt that he has been left out of this. You can shake your head. I literally spoke to Griff 2 years ago on that particular thing. He was down here in Philly at the Black Bookstore, and he was talking about his movement and thing, and that was his number one gripe. He is not being included in the conversation. He's not being mentioned, and he's an integral part of that group. Say what you want. How are you going to do a whole situation on that, and you're not going to let the brother speak? Again, I understand you can't get the 5 people in the room, but you gotta get his piece. And even if you say something like, you know, we attempted, we have people out here making these type of stories, especially in hip hop. That's why we got all this misinformation, and they're not even attempting to talk to people. And that's why you then have, they don't even put a blurb in that say, hey, we tried to, but we couldn't make it happen. So we're sitting there going like, what happened to so-and-so? Where is so-and-so, so-and-so? And this is super important. Like, I'm tired of us not doing the right thing.
I agree with
Who
you
said all
that
that
it's
wouldn't
important.
happen, though?
Right. I agree with you
Who
that
said
it's
all that wouldn't
important.
happen?
But I'm not saying that you can't, that I agree with you is important, but it's not, it can't stop the show is the only thing I'm saying.
But then to me,
But Sean, let's Sean get in here.
Well, we've gone into the hypothetical realm. Like, I think the documentary can still be done. I mean, it all depends on who comes on board as the filmmakers and the producers. You don't know who can get certain people to talk, or I mean, there's some very skillful people out there that know how to execute this. All I was saying is, it's time. You know, System of the Down really opened the door to where we should explore, and it can happen. It all depends on the filmmaker and the producing team. It's a lot, but I mean, yeah, you can create any sort of hypothetical situation. I just said it's an idea that should be done, and it's a story that needs to be told. And if you find the right filmmakers and the right producers, you can get it done. It'd be a fabulous story.
And if you, Katya, are talking to them, who knows? They may come to you. They may come to you and say, "Hey,
it's a pet peeve of mine in hip hop that we are not telling the whole story." Because we don't want to offend this person, we don't want to offend this. If we're not going to tell the truth, then what are we better than our white counterparts who misrepresent our history?
Yeah, I hear you, but I go back to my 5-5 thing is that it's a thing on the basketball end too. People want to know what really happened with Shaq and Kobe. But if Shaq gonna talk and Kobe not gonna talk, if Chris gonna talk, and I'm just saying is that if I'm trying to talk to you guys, and I got a lot of these basketball stories because I'm a basketball head, so I know these rifts that happen, and one person is willing to talk and one person not willing to talk. Does that mean you don't say nothing? You can't.
I mean, but we're also. I mean, the same thing happened with Truth to Power. All the System of a Down band members didn't have equal time in that doc. Remember, there were a couple of situations where they said where they really didn't get to fully explore some of the tensions that happened when the front man decided to step out so politically. So I mean, it happens with everything. I mean, same thing with telling stories about the civil rights movement. I mean, you can criticize every documentary. I mean, we talked a couple of days ago about the FBI MLK. I mean, there's a lot of closed lips on that one. I mean, so it's
And I really understand your pet peeve, Kathy, so I don't want to go over it because Sean just makes a really interesting point. When we look at women in any of these movements, it many times
that's men though. That's men and
no, I understand, but I'm just saying, their stories aren't even told.
I'm a big fan about women doing it for our. That's the same point I just made as far as the hip hop thing. In order for our voice to be seen, we got to be the ones behind the camera. This is the same thing with this. I do think the person that might be able to do this PE project is Spike Lee. He might be able to because he's been very active and he's been a fan. He's been supportive from the door. So he has a credibility. He has a relationship with the band members. It's going to be a hard thing because a lot of people are hurt and a lot of people feel disrespected. And some people, I hate to say it, are going to have to say, I'm sorry. And those are the people that are up front and they have done some dirt. Let's not act like some people haven't shown their whole behind in this. So you're gonna have, that's why I said you're gonna have a come to Jesus. Not everybody's gonna like each other. They're not gonna be the best of friends, but somebody needs to say, I did F up, I did disrespect you, I didn't value your contribution to the group.
Well, I value both of you guys' contribution to the group, and I am going to move to something where we talked about last week. But since I value your contribution, you didn't get to weigh in on Judas and the Black Messiah. We talked about it last week, Sean and myself. But you know, I gotta hear a woman's point of view on it. What say you,
I like
Katia
the film.
Woods?
But when I first saw the glimpse, I was feeling a little apprehensive about it because Shaka, for lack of a better word, this was not his real base. And I said, I'm gonna keep an open mind and I'm gonna trust Ryan not to be a part of some foolery. The film turned out a lot better than I thought it would. I like Daniel's performance. I definitely like Lakeith. I think a lot of people don't know what to make of Lakeith, but at the end of the day, he doesn't need to be our buddies. He's a talented actor, and he did what he did. Jesse, it seems to be that guy that's always playing the guy that's in some mass scene at every movie. He's that guy you're like, I don't know if I like you. In this one, of course, we didn't like him. I wish we were a little bit more tighter on some aspects of the film. I feel like Dominique's role should have been a little bit bigger. We were just talking about that. Women had an equal footing in the Black Panther Party. And as great as she is, I felt as though her role needed to be bigger. Their relationship needed to be more prominent. I did like how he humanized Fred, because on the one hand, he's a big orator, but we have to remember he was 21. So while he was very confident in that field, I did like that he felt awkward on the whole dating and romance thing. And, like we're not, it's just the two of us. We don't got to talk politics. We can talk about regular people stuff. You can say how you feel. In terms of that, the thing that annoyed me probably most more with this movie is not the movie itself, is the coverage of it. There's been some very vile, nasty point of view things written on this film. People claiming everything from the casting. Our industry needs to learn how to say they don't like something without making it personal and vile and nasty. And unfortunately, some
I
of the
totally
people
agree.
that have written these hit pieces have been Black people.
Yeah, I
And to
totally
me,
agree
it's
with that.
like, I need people to understand, if you are my age or younger, you don't know these people. His family was involved. I am not the one who's going to come out and say that, especially Deborah, that she was wrong to sign off on anything. That woman, what she went through, I've never had to experience it. I am not the one to say that her point of view, her experience of this is wrong. So for somebody to write something like that, to say that that is inauthentic, is a bunch of BS, because you wasn't there.
Well,
You
hey,
can say it didn't work for you as far as the screen, but to say the authenticity of that. And I'm looking at, since I'm on this trite lately, I'm looking at the vultures, I'm looking at the raps, I'm looking at the indie raps. This is why you need Black editors, because you are allowing this type of foolery to be printed. And then you ask us to be on these panels when you claim you're for diversity, but I keep looking at your outlets and ain't nobody that looks like me in any type of position and position of authority. So I'm tired of the cut and paste performance, and you are not going to come for our filmmakers while you make excuses for Woody Allen and people like that. You can go and kick rocks for that. That's my
well, we heard it here. So for me, this was a watch it. For you?
absolutely,
All right,
absolutely.
excellent. So moving on, we
Well,
got.
don't move on. She brought up a point. No, let's
Go
not
ahead.
move on. I gotta get my girls back on this one. First off, thanks to Reggie for doing this format, because man, this I will never support Vulture again. I can't. There's no way in good conscience I can support a predominantly white outlet that will only hire writers of color when we attack our own art. I mean, that's nasty. It's vile, it's sickening, and it's sad. Now, if you want to hire writers of color, they can attack everything from Harry Potter to the latest Marvel film to Judas and the Black Messiah. I get it. But when you only hire writers of color, specifically Black writers, to attack Black art, because this isn't the first time. No, it's got to
It's a
stop.
consistent. If you go through this, I'm sorry not to interrupt. I
No,
apologize.
you're fine on this. No, you're fine
If
on
you
this one.
if you go through these reviews and then you look at how the other films were reviewed, that is an editorial problem. We need to talk. What is going
Yes.
on in your life that these things bring out this vitriol? And I don't want to take advantage of anybody that has real life problems, because that's not who I am. I don't kick anybody if you haven't things that you're working on as a person. But now we're getting into where these two things are starting to intertwine. It is
Yes.
having effect on your point of view. That's what I mean. If you are a good editor, I'm pulling you in. We got to talk about this, because now I'm seeing a situation and they don't care, because for them, it's getting clicks. And the reason why I mentioned the other one, you're tagging Black actors. Please educate me if I'm wrong. I will shut up and we keep it moving. But I was not taught, and I am pre-internet and I've been around since the internet, that when you write a piece, good or bad, or in this particular case, you write a piece that's bad, that you tag the actor, the studio, and that is just not coofed, because the actor's just there to play the role. They're not responsible for marketing. They're not responsible for promotion. They're not responsible for when this thing gets shown, what theater, how many theaters. And this is what we have happening. And when you speak up and you push back on the outlets, they want to block you and they want to call you. And in the situation that I had with the woman from the rap, they want to make you seem like you're the crazy Black person. No, you can do all of this and critique. We all have done it. But I've never tagged an actor. I've never gotten personal. You can look at all of my stuff. I don't care what's going on in your personal, short of you being like a rapist, a woman beater, anything like that, which is something I think we do have to talk about, which is a separate article, not the review again. I don't understand what is happening in our community,
I do.
that we think that's how we have to critique one another. And yes, I'm going to say it, I will always give Black films a certain grace, because I know the hoops they have to jump through, and they don't have the budget and then always have the marketing that their counterparts do. You would be crazy, anybody who comes from a marginalized group. But again, we all done talked about all the mess the Black people have made without getting personal, without being hateful, without being vitriol. That's it.
No, I totally feel you, Sean. Last word on this one. I'm really glad that
Yeah,
you stopped me.
I just
I'm really glad that you stopped me, because this is real important,
no,
and
super important.
so
It's super
thank you
important.
so much for that. I appreciate that. Go ahead.
I just think I mean, the people that care, and we got to hold these outlets accountable, like the Rap, like Vulture, to a certain extent, sometimes IndieWire. I mean, I'm not dumb. I've been in the business for a long time. I noticed the trends, and I know exactly what they're doing. And it's just sad that they're Black journalists who are willing to participate in this. It just man, it just I mean, man,
This is probably like a whole symposium that I'm being
yeah.
serious
No, you are. He's
actually
correct.
talk about, because I when I say I don't like a movie, I don't like, it's not I don't like you.
That's it.
When I say I didn't like your
People,
performance,
I
I
gotta
didn't like your performance. I didn't.
you know?
It's nothing about, and I understand why you might be a little taken aback when I say I didn't like your performance, because you did it. But I didn't say I didn't like your performance and your wife. I didn't like your kids. I didn't like your life. So we are artists too. We're looking at art and crafting a view to discuss it, debate it, and have a little fun.
Yeah. Of course.
And
It's
there's
just
the same thing going on in our industry where people feel as though you can throw the grenade, but nobody can throw the grenade back at you. Like, I don't even understand that. Like that, you learn that on the playground. If you push somebody, get ready that somebody's gonna push you back. It may not be today, may not be tomorrow, but they're gonna remember that. And what are you gonna say? You can't push me. You'll be like, but remember, homie, you pushed me 2 weeks ago.
yeah.
That's how this works.
Yeah, it's this whole. This is why I'm not gonna be disingenuous. I'm not a huge, large religious person, but for Lent was a good benchmark. That's why I decided for like the next 40 days, I'm not doing any social media. because I think a lot of this stems from that. I mean, this whole Twitter culture and how we talk about film and approach performances and film. It's the nastiness is just I do not want to participate, and I don't have to, so I won't.
Now
Well,
I'm
good
taking
stuff.
off on Sundays. I'm doing that for
Good,
Lent.
good.
I'm taking my whole
Yeah,
cleansing.
yeah,
I
have
feel
to.
like God has. I feel like everything that's happened to me. I
It's
feel
too
like God is
much.
trying to tell me something. So I, like you said,
Too
is
much.
I'm not a huge religious person, but I am a spiritual person,
Mhm.
and I don't need to be kicked 4 times in order to get the message. I get it the first time.
It's too
You're
much.
trying to say have a damn seat. I'm gonna have a damn seat.
It's too
Well,
much. It's
well,
too
talking
much.
about being kicked, not having to be kicked 4 times. Hollywood has had to been kicked 104 times about inclusion, and so we got Ava DuVernay with the chairman of Warner Brothers, Peter Roth, talking about trying to improve diversity. What say you guys about this new database that they're building to supposedly have diversity?
Let me start this off. I love Ava. I love everything she's trying to do, everything she has done. I'm all for inclusion. But man, some of these people who are out here doing this, like they forget about levels of inclusion. It's all fine to like sit down with the chairman of Warner Brothers and get people of color in front of the camera, behind the camera. But man, some of these same filmmakers, when it comes to inclusion and it comes to the journalists that cover the stuff they create, something gets lost in the mix. I mean, when you're shooting a movie in New Zealand and you flying journalists down for set visits, and every single journalist that gets flown to New Zealand's white, I can't take you seriously. I'm sorry. I can't
I'm
do
so
it.
glad you're talking
I
about
can't,
this.
I can't, I can't do it. When it comes time to promote your movie and you use pull quotes from people who submitted reviews, and all the pull quotes are from Rolling Stone and Esquire and mainstream outlets, and you don't use any black film critics or journalists, I, I can't take you seriously. When I'm a black journalist or film critic and I got to fight to interview you at a junket and I see white journalists after white journalists after white journalists after white journalists walk in the room, because all this is pre-pandemic, I can't take you seriously. When you giving when you giving when you giving ad buys to Collider and you giving ad buys to comingsoon.net, but Couple Soul Show ain't got no ad buy, blackfilm.com ain't got no ad buy, I can't take you seriously. I'm
What
sorry.
you said is so. First of all, I'm gonna be even more direct. Half them people ain't journalists. That's the crazy part. Like they in there in the hallway asking you about the people we about to interview. You're like, homie, you got Google on your phone just like I got. They gave you how, that. Even more importantly, how do you come here and interview somebody and you ain't seen the movie? You don't know nothing about the director, but you're constantly in the room. I don't understand that. That is crazy. And we got to be over prepared. We have to be over professional because if one of us messes up, that messes it up for everybody. We can't be the people complaining that our hotel room ain't ready yet, even though we were on a long flight, since 5 a.m. That is not what we can do. So what Sean is saying, even better, if you want to really have a reality moment, somebody popped, I forgot about this, is when they had the directors roundtable. I forgot who was it, Hollywood Reporter, whatever, where Steve McQueen said something we've all been saying. How do you have a movie in Chicago, New York, Los Angeles? I'm gonna even say Milwaukee, because black people are in Milwaukee. And the cast is all white. The extras are all white. The businesses you attend are all white. I'm going to bring up New York. It is impossible to go anywhere in New York and just have just white people. Even Bensonhurst is not even all white. Staten Island is not all white. That is just crazy. And Steve is talking to the moderator, and the moderator is like, "Yeah, that's a better question." And he turns around. Steve McQueen is the only black director. The rest of them are all white. And he says, and the one guy, I think it was Jason Richmond, said, "Oh, I'm not touching that with a pole." Yeah, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know how to answer that? He's talking about you guys. He's talking about all of you because he's the only one that got some black people in his movie.
See, you
That's
got
what Sean is talking about. What do you mean you don't know? You know exactly. The point is you're a coward and you don't want to put yourself out there in this medium as a guy that doesn't want to hire black people, Latinx people, LGBTQ people, Asian people, Native Americans, because you know you don't want to be labeled as a racist, even though your hiring practices are racist. Everything that Sean is talking about is 100%, because I am still mad at that interview. And I love Oprah when she's sitting there with the cast of Friends and she's pressing them and they're kikiing and haha talking about, yeah, you know, we would love to have a black friend. David Crane, the creator of that show, is from Philadelphia. So it's not like he grew up in Topeka, Kansas. He grew up in one of the blackest cities in the world. And
Now
yet
Topeka, real black. Use another city. Topeka, super black.
It's not like he grew up in Lancaster, PA.
Yeah,
I'm
because if he
say
grew up in
Lancaster, PA. I apologize,
nah,
Topeka.
I'm just.
You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, David Crane, you grew up in Philadelphia. Your father was a weatherman here on Channel 10 NBC, and you still made a white show in New York.
so you guys are killing me. I have to tell this story because when I first saw this thing with Ava and Peter Roth, I said to myself, how does that impact what we do on our end? Immediately that was my thought. So I guess, Sean, today maybe we were in our heads for two things. And just recently I was pitching this show because I think this should be on a bigger platform or whatever. Yeah. And the person I was pitching to was really trying to help me out. It was like, she was like, hey, do this, do that, do this. And she showed it to somebody. And the person came back to her and said, look, this show would really we might be able to sell it or get some legs behind it if he gets a internet influencer. So what they were telling me is that I have to abandon real film critics, the people who've been doing this piece for a minute, or that slot that's not filled right now. I need to go get me a internet sensation, and then I'll have a little bit more a cachet to be able to move this project forward. Now, you know that as film critics go, that the people who don't look like us don't have to do that. They're every and so this just happened to me last week, and I was going to write this scathing letter back to the person, but the person who was helping me, that wasn't what she said. She was actually trying to send it to somebody else. So I wrote all the stuff down. It was kind of nasty, y'all. But I kept it because it shouldn't have been sent to her. It needed to be sent to the other person. So I saw the same thing that you guys are talking about as it relates to.
I don't get it, because there are a lot of people in the industry that preach this blackness and inclusion, but for some reason it's always surface level. It's never 360. It never includes everybody that's in the business. I mean, a lot of this goes to, man, some of the most high profile black talent in the business have white publicists. I mean, it's white management teams. So if we're gonna,
I agree. Like, we all do it where we're like, you just got out there. You were protesting for Black Lives Matters, but your whole damn team is white, bro. Like, I can't take you seriously. You can't say you're for me. You weren't even hired. Your accountant can't be black.
But I can't. I mean, if you want to have, but you know what? I'm not going to say you can't have a white publicist, but at least have a white publicist that understands and is concerned about the needs of journalists of color. Because,
yeah. But here's the thing: is the biggest star in the world, Beyonce. What color is her publicist? Blackity black, and she's from the island. She's a Caribbean woman. Well, and if it's good enough if it works for Beyonce, I need to understand why it don't work for a D-list star. Like, we got it, but no, I understand what you're saying, Sean, but we got to get out of this mindset that the white person can get me into these publications. We are so pressed to have an article this big in a white publication just so we can say we're on that publications, instead of getting a spread in Essence or Ebony when it was still function. I hope it comes back. Or in my side or somebody's side. And here's what happens, is which I don't play. And I know you guys get it too. When you don't get the look from the people that you consider to be quote unquote legit media, and then you circle back to us and we're supposed to give, they want to know, when is it going to come out? How long is it going to be? How many pictures there? You can go kick rocks. I am not the second or 16th choice, because you can't manipulate these people into giving you what you want. And we all see it and we all talk. Like Sean and I may disagree on some things here, but I'm gonna be like, brother, don't do that, because you weren't the first choice. This is what they're doing. Don't you use your TV time on Fox and give them 2 minutes or 30 seconds, because they weren't thinking about you too much.
When they went to New Zealand. They weren't thinking about him when they went to New Zealand.
That will always stick with me. That will always haunt me. That will always be my reference, because Ava preached and preached and preached about how Wrinkle in Time was Black girl joy, how she cast the lead girls, all it was black, 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 black. And man, everybody on that set visit.
And a lot of them were mommy bloggers. And again, I'm a mom. I think mommy bloggers are important. But again, what is our job if we can't even rock and lead in our own job? Same thing with In the Heights. In the Heights had a preview. The majority of the media was white Latinx people. They weren't even in New York. You couldn't even pull people from Philly. Like, we're a 2-hour train ride, 2 hour in the car, an hour train ride, and you flew people in from California. And some of them didn't even have an outlet to write about. I do look at Lin-Manuel, and I have to say, Puerto Rico has a lot of Black people in it. So it's not like you don't know better. You grew up in Washington Heights. Homie, what we doing?
Yeah,
I gotta end it. I want to end this conversation on a positive note. I will give props to Jordan Peele, because he did it right. Jordan Peele looks out for Black journalists, both on Get Out and on Us. So I don't want to slam the entire town. Jordan Peele gets it. So thank you, Jordan.
I have my book.
Yeah, and there are a number of people, and I don't mean when I say number like it's huge, but there are some folks who have recognized that. On an aside, because I am that sports guy too. That's why I like LeBron. Is that
sir.
The LeBron pulled all his people with him, and he recognizes that early on he lost money. He lost money early on because his people didn't know the industry, they didn't know the people, and all that type of stuff. And he says, hey, but once they got in there, figured it all out, is that look what happens. Not only did he educate some folks and bring them along, but he also educated the industry, and he also let the industry know that you're not going to dictate to me what people and which kind of people that I'm going to have there. And we have some people in Hollywood who have done that. I know the numbers are not huge, but to end on a positive note, I like that as well. Look, we're getting close to the time being up, but I cannot get out of here without talking about the British Independent Awards. This will be our last one for the day, but there's a couple of things. The reason I had to bring this up is, Sean, you said one of your favorite movies this year was His House. And his house got, you talk about it.
His house got love. I mean, it had to go all the way down the line to the British Independent Film Awards. I mean, we got how many Black Critics Choice Association groups, and I mean, that movie got neglected. I think one of the best movies of the year got massively neglected, from the NAACP all the way to the Golden Globes to SAG. It's criminal. I mean, that not only was that movie artistically just at another level, but what it had to say, it may have been the smartest movie of 2020, save from anything that Steve McQueen did with Small Axe, which is still going to be a thorn in my side probably until I go to my grave, how that was mishandled. But anyway.
Yeah, I
Congrats.
had to mention that. But
Yeah,
so two
congrats.
things, Katya.
Finally, Jesus.
Two things, Katya, I want you to mention, because I bet you saw the independent film Rocks, which I didn't see because you see so many independent films. So it won the best British independent film. And then I also want you to speak just a little bit on His House, because you just shaking your head as Sean is talking. And when y'all can agree, that just makes my life much easier. So go ahead.
No, I mean it's all up. We're passionate about what we do. I don't want to be sitting here with somebody who's just like, mm-hmm.
No,
That's
I feel you. I feel you.
we all been on panels. We're like, brother, are you with us? Like, get you some coffee, you know? First of all, the two leads, right? We when we get in, we're gonna talk about it hopefully this year. I want to say his name right. Sophie Durisu. Forgive me for butchering. He's in my new guilty pleasure, Gangs of London. That show is fire. And then Wumi, she is booked and busy. So how do you have two actors that are and then throw Matt in there? Matt Smith is was in The Crown. So you have people in the movie who are working and are everywhere. But again, you know what it is? Because we don't like anything that isn't cookie cutter. We don't like anything
This
that
is not
isn't
cookie cutter.
that is palatable to us. Everything in there is blackety black. You know what I mean? And also, sometimes we as Black people don't want to acknowledge things that are happening around the rest of the world because we're like, well, that's not our type of Black people, but who cares? It's good. And I'm glad it's getting love. You know, there's still some Black critics groups that need to roll out. Hint, hint. You know, I always feel like I did put it down on my ballots for a lot of things, and I knew it might have been just me and Sean and two other Black people.
They don't go far. Them small numbers don't go far.
You know, at least I figured if anybody was looking at our ballots, give us points for thinking out of the box. But I knew we didn't have the caucus, we didn't have the alliance. Maybe we need to work on our alliance for next year for stuff. But I do, and Rocks is, I believe it's on Netflix right now. I do believe that film is on Netflix. Carlos was telling me. And again, you know, people stop looking at stuff, be uncomfortable, right? I always say every film festival, I pick a day, but I used to do it in person, even now when I'm at home, I pick a day where I just pick titles at random. I don't look who made it. I don't care who's associated with. And those usually are some of my best fun days because I'm like, I'm so glad I saw this. This is better than the thing that y'all told me was great. You know what I mean? And I think we all need to do that, you know,
Yeah.
in our coverage, whether you put on your site, new filmmaker, whatever you want to call it, because I think it makes you better as a critic. It makes you more forward thinking. I'm trying to push myself this year. This is my challenge to myself to see more global cinema, especially in terms of Black people in areas that we are always used to getting content from. And again, I don't need to know if Homie won the award, if they used the top equipment, if the set design was all there. I want to learn, and you know, sometimes it's going to be a little iffy, but I think
But
it will be better.
it's really good. Hey, we're up on time. I know we are, but I said that was the last one. But hey, guys, what about Small Axe declaring Best Picture is being declared Best Picture by the Los Angeles Film Critics Association? The whole 5 films was declared Best Picture.
They just proved as an organization that they were smart. They thought outside the box and they understand the industry a little bit better than everyone else.
Speak a little bit more, Sean. You can't just stop like that. I know
I
you
mean,
did.
no, I mean they recognized it as they recognize how significant the entire body of work really is and what Steve McQueen actually delivered because they understood what he did has never been done. I mean, he dropped these are movies. I know he wanted to use BBC as the plat. See, that's something we need to. It's about education. Steve McQueen directed 5 movies, but he wanted to utilize BBC as the platform so that they could be seen because he wanted his mother to be able to watch each of the 5 movies. They're movies. They just happen to be on a television platform. And the Los Angeles film critics understood that, and they understood the power and the significance of each of these movies and realized that either one of these five could be a Best Picture contender, but collectively they're worthy of our singular award, which is what I would have done if I controlled the situation, because there's nothing else that was released in the eligibility period for this year's award season that's better.
And so for me, and Katya, I'm gonna let you have the last word on this. For me, each of these five films could have stood on their own.
Yes.
So the fact that someone actually recognized that he was a master here. These weren't just like five films. And they weren't five related films. So when you talk about, a storyline, like, okay, it went from this one and then we saw the next characters in this one and saw no. Don't get this twisted. These were five separate films with five separate stories, and they were all, for me, so engaging. Katya, you said one thing about learning about Black people around the world. These films do it, and they have such, I use this word, but they have such a universality to it that is amazing. But we're going to leave the last word with you, and after you, we're going to cut on out of here. Katya, what do you think about this?
The biggest, worst marketing fumble in the history of film is how are you able to market something that's bad into getting award contention? And this is brilliant, and you fumbled it. And the whole marketing team needs to be held accountable. I'm with Sean. We have had, this thing was discussed as a telenovela. If you know what a telenovela is, you know that is not a compliment. They were so fixated on trying to, and again, this is white media trying to tell us what our art is. And on top of that, because the people who bought it didn't listen to the filmmaker, and then they decided what it should be. Therefore, we have this fumble. They fumbled it with Sylvie's Love. That is not a TV movie also. And here you have the there should have been way more nomination for the performances. I sincerely am praying that everybody who worked on this marketing campaign so far in this season gets fired, and they hire a whole new crew for Emmy season, because this is too good for that to be ignored. And if nothing else, if you don't know what to fit it in, then give it a freaking special award. And just say, this thing is so unique. I'd rather them do that than to try to tell us it's a square that needs to go into a triangle when we know. And I agree with what Sean said. The reason also it makes sense for it to have been on BBC is to reach more people. Do you know what I mean? To get more people, to get the young Black kids in England to see that there's a history there. What they're experiencing is not a figment of their imagination. It's been going on, and it needs to be addressed. I spoke to a British comedian yesterday, and that said, don't let it get twisted. The only reason we're not getting murdered by the police at the high rates is because our police officers don't have guns. But we are being beaten. We are being profiled. Don't let them tell you that the racism over here is not pronounced, that is polite. So it's important for these young kids to see what they're experiencing, again, that they're being seen. And again, it makes me say we have more in common. We need to work together instead of us constantly fighting who's legitimately Black, which I don't even understand. I don't know parts of that conversation. I do want to have the part of the conversation of things we have in common and how we can create a better world for all of us that are Black, not just this is our problem. You can't come to our march. This is your problem. I'm not going to come to your march. So in that way, it's just, again, it's a,
but it's actually, and it's unfair to us, because as much as I love what Regina King did as a director, if she becomes the first Black person to win Best Director, I mean, it's sadly unfair, because it should be Steve McQueen.
Steve McQueen killed it.
Well, they always get that wrong, Sean. It's like,
I
call it the makeup awards.
Jeez.
It's just what it is. Like Glenn Close might win an award for this role when she gave us such brilliance and all these other roles. And basically what we're saying is she lived long enough. This is a year where we can't deny her anymore. It's not for the role. And I'm a huge Glenn Close champion. But it's like, oh, well, Sean, you survived the cuts at the job. We're going to give you this raise. See, not because we think you're great.
I had to have us say something on this because Steve McQueen blew me away, you guys. Really. I mean, I watched these movies and I was running around through my house like, okay, well, you need to watch this one. And I think Sean talked to me about Mangrove. I think you talked to me about Lovers Rock. And both of y'all, I was like,
They
thank
wrote
you,
the
thank you.
soundtrack for Lovers Rock. That's another missed opportunity.
I was like, thank you,
It should have
thank
been
you,
the
thank you.
soundtrack or official playlist. All
So
that rap music, we have to cut and paste it ourselves. What you mean you playing all this music? We in the house, we rocking, we got nowhere to go. And you gonna go, there you go, that's the soundtrack.
And I like you brought that up. And trust me, it's not that hard. I worked on Fatale. We have a playlist for Fatale. So Fatale can have a Spotify playlist. It's not that hard.
yeah, it's not that hard.
I
Well,
worked on it. It's not that hard.
well, it is a little
It's not
hard to
that
get off
hard.
to end this
I
because
only said that because you got the Fatale in the background.
I see that, see that.
No, we should have had the whole situation. We were rocking and we wanted to rock some more, and we were like, "But where's the situation?"
Yeah, it's so bad. It's so
I'm
bad.
just gonna say, I'm just gonna say that I gotta go.
And we
But
say positive though. Y'all did that with the gift. That is, I don't know who designed it. If you know, shout them out. That was beautifully done. You can tell somebody sat and thought about it. It was class A1. We always talk about sometimes we get some stuff and we like, you're trying to tell us we need to kill our relatives, but this one here,
y'all did do it, and I have to co-sign because I'm like, I got that. Oh, what studio sent that to me?
The Black folks.
Wait a minute, hold on. Now y'all know if nobody else was gonna get a box, y'all two was gonna get a box. Come on, man.
No, but my point. No, but that's not my point. My point is that Black folks sent it to me though.
Yeah.
Is that's quality. That was some quality stuff.
Well, I will pass it on to the powers that be.
And
I don't know who the designer is. Next show, if you find out who put it all together, please let them shout out because we get some stuff sometimes that I'm like, I thank you, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this.
Right, we'll shout them out on the next show. We'll do that.
For sure. With that, you guys, I really appreciate
thanks a lot.
Y'all brought it. Y'all brought it today. Y'all brought it today.
Man,
so I really appreciate
keep
y'all.
entertaining because we want you to get that deal. We got
That's right.
It's not for influencer.
That's
right. Get you that. I can't believe they told you needed to end. Did they not research the people on the show?
They said that it would be better because you would already have to have
like a diss to us.
Because you got absolutely but it's not only a diss to you guys individually, but it's a diss, in my opinion, to real criticism.
Well, it's a diss all the way around because if they did the research, they would be like, anyway, I've been through like meetings and stuff like that before. I've heard it all before too. It's like some of the things people say when you're trying to get to the next level. It's like, man, it's disheartening. But you gotta keep, man, dude. You gotta, Reg. You gotta keep pushing, man. It took us 7 years to get Celebration of Black Cinema legit. So it don't happen.
I'm gonna keep on
Trust
pushing
me.
as long
as you do got to keep pushing. I just saying I can't do it with the influencer. The direct carpet is enough. I got to remember that,
Reggie wasn't gonna do that.
Remember that I'm standing out there with all my Black folk and the stuff that I get asked. But my face be telling them. My face to be looking at you like.
But this is not the first time. This is probably the third time that I've been told by different folks.
Oh yeah.
And I've been told to get me a pretty young.
Oh, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude, I've been through, dude.
Give me a pretty young influencer, and we gonna be on and popping.
Dude, remember I've been on TV for 20 years. That's like 1,000 years in real lifetime. You gotta remember my first, because I used to do it by myself, and then I had two co-hosts that were women. And they were all hot. That's the thing, man. This road is long. This road is hard. One day I'm gonna share every single email I've gotten on pitching stuff, and the stuff people say is crazy.
And the next thing you know, they're gonna tell us we need a pet.
Dude, this stuff's crazy out here. So I kind of get why some people might rock with Vulture, but I don't get it. I can't fool with Vulture.
I'm so glad you did mention that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean, because again, I don't want to rock this parade, but that to me was like, this is now for what I blame the C. She's done more, but this was the fourth one in a row. Boom,
Woo!
boom, boom, boom. And it was just mean spirited.
It's just
You know, like
mean, dude.
it's almost like I feel like I gotta if I gotta defend something like Antebellum, which I thought was a horrendosity, then that's a bad thing. And again, half of this is on the editor, because a good editor would have pulled you in. We need to talk about this situation. And again, they Jessica just got the role in freaking Batwoman on the WB. They blamed her for the ratings being down, not. And in the article, they tagged her in the article, but in the article they acknowledged the ratings were down because they were against the NFC Championship game. But why do you need to tag her? You can't even let the woman have one episode, celebrate her achievement before you come for her. And then you got mad that people push back. And then somebody who had a lot of followers, then you want to cry, oh, I'm being bullied. You have 35,000 followers, but your outlet has 213,000 followers. And when you wrote that, you didn't think about all of them coming for her, or 1/3 of them blaming her. And then he's like, well, I didn't decide it. But when you saw it, you should have said something. I don't understand. Why is it so hard to do the right thing? And you only did the right thing because people came for you. And the founder of the rap will ask Black women to sit on these, just got done something about Kamala Harris. You have all these Black women, but your outlet did a hit piece on a Black woman. So no, I will not sit on your panel. Not doing it.
It kind of brings us back to the movie I Care a Lot. There's lions and lambs. That's
yeah, but we can't let these white outlets do this. This is
dude, we can't do their panels knowing that they do this. I've been asked to do a lot of panels because we in style now. It's Black History Month. I'm gonna be in style a little bit more because it's about to be Women's History Month. I will not. I'm okay. I'm okay with one panel a year, but the right panel. I will not be the token Negro up there while you doing hit pieces on my people.
It's bad. It's bad. Well, everybody have a good weekend. We got it,
guys. That's our show. This is
keep pushing. Yeah, keep pushing, Reggie.
All right, guys. I'll see you guys later. Thanks a lot.
See everybody later.